Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Unfiltered Tea. It is just me tonight. Mandy is currently on vacation, and last week there was family stuff that came up. So I'm back. Mandy is currently vacationing with family, so we wish her well. We will see her next week. And yeah, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode. I am here. I'm trying something a little different with the camera. Let me know what you think. Some folks have said they want to see me looking in this direction more at you as opposed to my camera, which has a weird placement with where everything is. So I am going to be looking off to the side because, I wrote notes because today needs some notes. Mandy's probably very happy that she is not here today because, well, she lived through the whole first part of this with me. It did lead to us doing this, so yay. But yeah, so let me start by saying I watched the Netflix Depp Heard documentary. That's a strong word for what I watched. Anyway, I watched the documentary mostly so that you don't have to because this was I watched the whole trial. So anyway, I watched that. Before I run the intro, I do want to remind everybody, especially with this subject and especially because it is touchy as all get out. Rules for comments. Be kind. If you're going to attack something, attack an idea or an opinion, but please have facts to back it up. Or if you have a different opinion, just be open to conversation. We have conversations here. This is not the place for just an opinion with no other discussion around it. If you want to discuss this, we discuss it, and that's great. And we love conversation. And who knows, opinions can change. I have had my opinions change in the past. So I have part one on this because, well, when I was writing notes for the show, I got to the second page. And usually when I get to page 2, that tells me that we're looking at least 2 episodes because I am going to go beyond my notes because this is me doing soapboxy things and all of that. So buckle up, Buttercup, because I have some thoughts. So with that, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to roll the intro and we'll go from there. Hello and welcome to The Unfiltered Tea, a show where we say all the things you wish the newscasters said, unscripted and unfiltered. We talk about news, politics, and entertainment, so pull up your soapbox, pour yourself a cuppa, and let's go. Okay, so we are back, and I am scanning some of my notes here. First off, we are hydrating tonight, as well as let me move this so that I can see all of the things. I'm trying to see all of the things. 2 monitors, it's a thing. So I've got my hydration cup here. I am showing this off for a reason, and we are going to get to that reason. So I am showing this off here, and also because it's that time of night, and because this is what it is, I have my whiskey. My peach whiskey is tasty. But yeah, I have it in my Stay Salty cup because we're gonna get salty tonight. I'm gonna warn you now. Expletives will fly. That is gonna happen. So I was kind of hoping that I could do this in tandem so that I could cover some of the stuff from the documentary. I took a lot of notes. And also, all of the transcripts are available now with the sidebars. And so, with a lot of the evidence that didn't come in, okay, let's go to the sidebar. Let's see why that evidence didn't come in, because some of those were some fights. Some of them were won, some of them were lost on both sides. But the sidebars are super interesting. There are a few that I do want to cover, and we may get to that tonight, and we may not, because truthfully, where I want to start this conversation is, oddly enough, where the Netflix documentary also wants to start the conversation, which is media versus social media, and what role does all of this play, right? There seems to be this never-ending fascination with this particular trial, and everybody seems to have a different reason for why. Why was this what it was? Why was everybody watching it? Why was everybody paying attention to it? Why did people like me suddenly find that and then join several YouTube communities where I'm in the live streams and I'm chatting with folks? And I mean, I'm not like in this, I'm just watching in the chat and going back and forth with folks in the chat. And I think while this documentary makes it very clear that their opinion and their take on it, from what I saw, is that we should only be looking at the legacy media. That was not my take, because what I kept seeing when this trial was happening in real time, what I kept seeing was so much legacy media just getting it wrong or misrepresenting things. They would throw a headline out and I would be like, "But I watched trial today and that's not what happened." Like, can we take a moment for when the LA Times said that Jason Momoa testified? He never testified. If you watched the trial that day, you knew that. If you watched the trial, you knew he never testified. It wasn't a thing. So, they make it very clear that their stance is that the legacy media got it right and social media got it wrong. Now, I'm going to interject on myself here to say that we need to be careful about where we're getting our information across the board. We need to trust but verify on all levels. The folks that I follow on YouTube, because the algorithm is what it is, because the algorithm works to a certain extent, the folks that I follow on YouTube and the people that I will mention in this video tonight like facts and documents. If they can't find the document, they're probably not going to present it as a verifiable fact unless they were there. This is the problem that I have with how this documentary portrayed content creators. They, from what I was watching, it seemed as though to me that they were portrayed as just having commentary, right? And not actually going to the documents, looking at things. And it got at, I was trying real hard. I was leaving a lot of things open, but one of the very first notes that I wrote down while watching this documentary was the editing of this testimony. Oy. Because in the very, very first episode, the editing of the testimony, they edit it like it's a conversation, which is fine, except when you've watched the trial, you're like, that was from day 9, and that was from day 2, and that was for... So you're missing all the context because it's all this just jumble and sound bites pulled together in different pieces that make a sense for your narrative. But when you actually go back and watch it's like, it was done as though it was a really bad trailer, in my opinion, honestly, because like one of those trailers where you go watch the movie and you're like, what was that trailer? Because that was not the movie that I just watched. So and this is also where it's going to get kind of funny. I think I just stepped on myself there for a minute. I looked at my notes because I'm trying to keep myself on track. And that sometimes can lead me down rabbit holes. So anyway, I tried to keep an open mind. My open mind failed when we hit clips of a content creator that I adore that had previously said, I think it was yesterday, I don't know. I'm going to link the video down below. And I'm going to link her channel down below. And I'm going to link other channels down below because, well, if nothing else, they have all taught me to go to the source. If you can find the source, go to the source. If you trust the source that you're watching, great. But if you want to see the clip that they used, but have its full context, go to their channel. Watch it. Watch it. It's all still up there because the internet is great that way. So, but when it hit, so Emily D. Baker, I am a law nerd. Clearly, I'm a huge law nerd. And like huge law nerd. Big fan. Anyway, she had previously, as people were mentioning the Netflix documentary in the chat as she was doing stuff. I'm sorry, my hair is doing things and the camera always flips it and then I can't, sorry about that. No, so Emily D. Baker does several live streams. I'm often in the chat, and the chat the other day was saying, hey, you're in the Netflix documentary. And she was like, well, anyway, I'm going to link. Go take a look. She wasn't contacted by the folks in the documentary to do stuff. So everything that you see of hers in that documentary, if I will grant them this, if they reached out to her, it was not processed by her or her team throughout the entire process of them doing the documentary and getting it up and releasing it on Netflix. Because as of yesterday, she had said she had not been contacted. Now, does her inbox probably get super full? Yeah. She's on the road to 1 million subscribers on YouTube. That's going to cause a full inbox. However, to just barrel on ahead and use the stuff anyway, I'm going to leave room for fair use. Can they use it? I am not an attorney. I don't know. I'm not an attorney and I'm not a copyright attorney. So I don't know. Do I think it's completely rude to just go ahead and use it and not give anybody a heads up? Yes. Does it certainly seem from everything that I saw online today that that's how it went down? Yes. And that's where I have an issue. Because if you're going to use their stuff, if you're going to use it to create this narrative, whether or not it's legal, I find it real fucking rude to take it, do what you want to do with it, put it up there, and not provide them the opportunity to say, hey, I'm not comfortable with you using my stuff in this way, or not provide them the opportunity to say, hey, how is this going to be presented, right? So like, for example, I'm going to use an example here. I'm sorry, I have to put my hair up because it's driving me crazy, and if I don't put it up, it will continue to drive me crazy, which will drive you crazy. So yeah, we're just getting the hair out of the way. Yeah, so whether it's legal or not, whether it's fair use or not, I don't care. It's rude. Don't do that. Like, if you're a content creator and you are commenting on something, that the drama stuff and things like that, that's fine to me. You know, we all kind of I would love to pull up Emily D. Baker's video and show you the 2 minutes and 30 seconds of yesterday that clearly states everything. I'm not doing it for 2 reasons. 1, she's got over 700,000 subscribers, and that just feels rude. That it doesn't feel right to me to just go ahead and do that. Am I probably gonna send the link to this video to some of the people that I mentioned in this video? Yes. In part just well, 1, I'm not stupid, and 2, I'm a total fan, so why wouldn't I be like, "Hey, look what I did. Please be proud of me." Um, but also, like, I want to give them the opportunity to say, "Hey, I did reach out and or they did reach out, or you said this and it's actually not accurate." And if you go to timestamp 1542 on this video, you'll see that. I appreciate that. And if that comes my way, then I will certainly make corrections. What I have a very hard time with is well, I'm gonna loop back to that. I did in fact reach out to one of the other content creators that I do follow. Um, Ian Runkle of Runkle of the Bailey. Also, I will drop channel information below. I did reach out to him directly on Twitter today to inquire. I was like, this man is busy. He does, I don't know, he can do like 3 jobs all at the same time. And I don't know how he does it. I am not that brilliant. Anyway, I wasn't really expecting a reply, but I wanted to at least try to reach out to one of them, and somebody that I do follow some of their content, and I just wanted to get the information directly from them. So I reached out to Ian Runkle and I said, "Hey," like, on Twitter, like, "Look, it's a long shot here, but did anybody from this documentary reach out to you?" And he replied to me and he said they had not. So that to me is my if I'm looking at some people tweeting some stuff and I don't follow their stuff, so I'm not going to reach out to them directly. And Emily D. Baker had said yesterday that she had not been contacted. So this is starting to add up for me, right? For me, like with everything, it's a math problem. I work with numbers. I want the numbers. So how there's a lot of YouTube content in there, a lot of creators that I follow. How many of them got contacted? It does seem from what I was seeing online, and I have not confirmed any of this, that some people got paychecks for what they did. I don't know. If any of the people that I have tagged have any further information on this particular thing, did they reach out? Did they not reach out? Are there copyright? I'm not an attorney, so I don't even want to touch some of that stuff. I'm just a lady with an opinion. That's all I am. I'm just a lady with an opinion about some things, and I want to make the world a better place. And so, yeah, hi, I'm on YouTube. It makes sense in my head. Anyway, if any of the people that I've tagged, if you see this and you have any updates, commentary, quotes that you would want me to use, I mean, you all have channels yourself, so you're going to see everything on your own channel. But anyway, I'm happy to take it. If you want to correct me in any way, happy to take that. That was a lot of disclaimers. I am going to swoop for my own brain at the moment because I need to redirect myself. And I think I started down one path and then I got lost on another. So I am going to swoop and then come back into this. As far as timestamps go, it's just me today and we are talking this one thing. I'm going to try. But it's also late at night and I may just post this because it is what it is. So I'm gonna swoop for an Aurora brain reset here. Okay. I was able to glance at my notes while I did that because I went off. I am trying to get this back to the ultimate thing of it, all the stuff I talked about before to now. I am processing because I am spitting angry that it's so rude to just take people's content and put it all in this thing and then to present it in a way that has a narrative that implies that everybody signed off on it. That's ultimately my issue. The implication that everybody signed off on it. I People who made this documentary, like, guys, the internet knows. The internet will do the research. We will find that. I mean, not me, but we will find that information and it will be corrected. And it's already starting to happen. Yeah, crazy eyes there for a moment because it's nuts to me. Like, once the first one started and then they completely lost me when you run the entire intro of it was Emily D. Baker's intro. I can't remember if it's for the Emily show or her live stream. I really don't remember because they're very similar but slightly different. And you cut off the last line, and I'm gonna mess up the last line, even though I hear it multiple times a week. But where we talk about facts, not fuckery, like, if that's the line that you cut out when you're showing her intro in your documentary, where you also haven't reached out to her, people, you think we're not gonna find that? It's the internet. It is the internet. And people will find it. And you can have your opinion that the jury got it wrong. Fine. Fine. But the way that was put together, I did not appreciate how it felt icky. I'll be honest. The way the documentary was edited together, it felt icky. I can understand wanting to put out there, hey, we disagree with the jury verdict or whatever. I can understand doing a deep dive into some of the unsealed documents and stuff like that. But when you're coming at it from a point of view that is basically, don't pay attention to anything you see on social media, only look at the legacy media, I have a major issue with that because the legacy media just isn't pulling their weight these days. And one of the things they talk about in this documentary is, oh, these people made millions. Good. Most of them have teams, employees. Most of them have companies. And the YouTube channel is owned effectively by them, but the company, the nuances, I'm still figuring that out because this is not a monetized channel yet. I hope to get there, but this is not a monetized channel yet. And do the amount of editing work and research work and work to pull in documents, and then for almost all of them, they have live chats. And they have live chats with thousands, tens of thousands people in the chat. Do you know how fast that thing goes when you have 20,000 people in a chat? If you have not been a member of one of those streams, let me tell you, it is the mods, the folks in the chat taking care of all that. There is a reason we have not gone live at this point on this channel. And it is because I am me and Mandy is Mandy. And we are 700 miles apart. And my level of technology is probably matched to a savvy 75-year-old. I'm not great at this stuff, and I hate doing certain things. So if they are making millions doing commentary on a trial that you can go find and watch with no commentary, more power to them. Get that money, go with the hustle, and if you can have fun doing it, awesome. Because you know what? Again, like I said, most of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head have whole teams. They employ other human beings to assist them. That's not a problem. It's not a problem to me. And if you have a team of 5 people versus a team of 50, and guess what? The 5 people are getting it right. Guess where I, as a human being that wants information, am going to turn every time. If the 50 people doing the research, I'm looking at all the legacy media now, can't get it right and can't get the headlines right, but the 5 people doing the research over on YouTube can get it right, guess what? I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to become a member of that channel. I'm going to give you a couple bucks every month so that I can get all the extra perks and look at more documents because that's fun for me. That is fun for me. And I kind of like that. It's like the internet equivalent of shopping local, right? I'm a big shop local person. Going to individual content creators, subscribing to their channels, becoming members, whether they're artists or historians or attorneys, if I am paying them directly, if I'm one of the many that is paying them directly for the content that they spend lots and lots of time to create, to me, that is the internet equivalent of shopping local. And I don't see a problem with that, especially since legacy media is getting compounded and compounded and compounded. So at this point, legacy media, because brains are weird, in my brain, is about a dozen people that all kind of look the same and have the same notions. Versus YouTube, which is a wild group of very different things. And I can pick and choose what I want on any given day at any given moment. I went off just there. Sorry, I'm gonna try and climb down off my soapbox here for a moment. And I should swoop. I should swoop while I'm climbing down off my soapbox. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. I'm gonna have a little sip. I'm gonna have a little sip because when we do part 2, I think I am gonna save sidebars, a lot of sidebars for part 2 when Mandy can join me because some of them are truly super funny, and also I got so angry watching this documentary, so mad watching this documentary. That I did not look at as many of the sidebars as I wanted to. I just didn't. And it's a lot to go through. So I'm going to try and take a moment and do a little synopsis of what this documentary was. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to pull it up. Hopefully it won't talk to us. When I do this, because what I want to do is just look at the chapters so that I can give you the chapters. And it's being dumb. Okay. Hang on. No, there it is. It's here. I just want to look at the chapters. There we go. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go through the chapters. I am going to try and go through some of my notes. I'm going to road so far. Hang on. Buffering. My brain itself is buffering. Okay. Before I go through this, because Netflix kind of wants to, I am the person that Netflix feels like they're talking to in some ways. And I'm also here to tell them that they're wrong. And I say Netflix. Netflix is a platform this is on. I am not bothering to name the director of this documentary, one, because I can't remember it, because literally I read it and then I get angry and then it yeets itself right out of my brain. So, and two, because it's just not worth it to be rude to a different creator. I don't like their stuff. At the end of the day, that's what it is. She is a creator, the same as any of the people that I have linked to down below, and the same as myself. That's what she's a creator. I don't like what she did. I know it's her. That's really all I could tell you. And because I'm not a fan, because I don't like what she did, because I don't like this documentary, and I think I saw the last documentary that Netflix put up of hers, and I also didn't like that one, and it also felt very ick to me. So if I have two ick documentaries, it's just not worth it to me to remember her name or tell anybody about it, because it's not worth it for any of us to hate on that. We're gonna get as much of the hate out as we can today, or strong distaste, so that when Mandy joins us next time, we can just focus on sidebars and some fun stuff. And hopefully Mandy won't need to, watch the documentary at this point if I go ahead and do this. Anyway, I'm gonna let Netflix and this director know I am the Depp fan that y'all were talking about that came into that trial. But here's the thing. Was I a Johnny Depp fan? Yeah, I liked his acting. I didn't know him as a person. And some people make that mistake and they take the person and the fandom and they just make them the same. I'm not that person. I've been fame adjacent enough that I'm not that person. I recognize that they are human beings. I thought he did great acting. It's generally a math problem for me, and most of the reports about Depp as a human were pretty kind to him. I admit that when the accusation first came out, I did what I do with all accusations of this nature, especially that are public and involving public figures. Trust but verify. Assume that the person saying the thing is telling the truth. That's always what I'm going to do. It's always it's what I've always done. It's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to assume that they are telling the truth. And then if information comes out that indicates that they are not telling the truth, I'm going to take a closer look at that. And then if more information comes out that is verifiable, that then really tells me that they are lying about it, then I'm probably going to be more inclined to believe even more from what the other person is saying. If they're talking about a particular person, in this case, Amber Heard said a thing, the world believed it, myself included, and then I started seeing a lot of exes come forward and say, he was never like this with me. That starts to make my math brain go off, because if it's only one person saying this and then people coming out of the woodwork that I didn't even know he dated were like, about that, not me. Like, it wasn't. Then I start to really question stuff. So by the time we got to this trial, this sort of thing had been going on for years. And by this point, I admit, I thought that she was probably the aggressor in this situation. Again, another math problem of when the people she dates has the tendency to sprout black eyes, and those black eyes tend to stop sprouting when they're no longer dating. They could not be connected. There is a very real chance that I am making a connection in my head that is not there in real life. But it seemed like maybe there was a connection. But so by the time we got to this trial, that was where I was at. That was exactly where I was at. And I discovered that we could watch the trial online with no commentary. So I was like, okay, I remember watching the O.J. Simpson trial when I was in middle school, and that was a whole thing. This is going to be fascinating. I'm going to sit down and watch. And I did. Now, here's what's funny. I found every content creator that you see linked below, anybody I mentioned, anybody new I found lately, I did not find those while I was watching the Depp Heard trial. I didn't. I very carefully avoided all of the commentary. So in that way, I'm not the person that Netflix is aiming this at, because I wanted to give myself the opportunity to say, okay, I have this bias, but I'm curious. If I were in that jury pool, if I were called to be a juror, could I be impartial? Let's find out. And the trial began. And I would turn off a stream if they were doing sidebars. And pardon me, my eyeballs are itchy. For some of the pre-court stuff, I would watch it, but I would be like, okay, anything you just saw needs to not be a part of how we're coming to our decision. And that was how I went into the trial, was only the evidence the jury was going to see or was seeing. That was the only thing that I was like, okay, if you have to make a decision on verdict day using only the evidence that you have there, because there's a ton online. There was a whole bunch of things coming out, extra audio recordings that couldn't come in because hearsay. Didn't we all learn what hearsay was during this trial? Seriously, people. Netflix, specifically. Anybody who watched this trial learned what constituted hearsay because there was so goddamn much of it trying to come in. Okay. But I truly think that as a rule, a lot of people would have ultimately changed their minds had the evidence been different. I do believe that. I think there were a lot of people that came into that prepped and ready to find out that Amber Heard was a victim. And that's not what the evidence showed. It's not what the evidence showed. In my own personal opinion, I agree with the jury. 100%. I also, okay, I'm going to swoop one more time. I'm going to go off on Netflix for their portrayal of how jurors made their decision. And then I think I'm going to wrap for the evening. I think that's what we're doing, because otherwise I'm just going to get too mad again. Okay. You could see, I'm sorry, you could see I'm faced with my face, and it's like, yeah. I'm growly about this. I am super, super growly about the disservice that they did to the jury in this documentary series. The absolute disservice that they did to the jury. The narrative that they couldn't possibly avoid the trial. Trust me, they could have. You know how I know this? You know how I know it's absolutely possible and likely that those jurors took their job very seriously and avoided stuff? I work in a law office. I had these earbuds in my ears every day, working while listening. That's how I was watching the trial. So, okay, I was listening to the trial. I worked with a bunch of people who truly only wanted the highlights and only here and there Most of the time, if they wanted the highlights, they're like, hey, Aurora, what's going on with the trial today? And I would tell them. Or they would hear me go, what just happened? And then, I would have to explain what just happened. I'm looking at you, Spiegel. Yeah, I'm looking at you. And Dr. Hughes. I think those were the two biggest ones where I actually said things out loud and went, wait, what? For the most part, I was able to keep it in. But this is people who are somewhat interested, not super interested. And trust me, they could have come to a fair and impartial decision had they watched all of the evidence and just the evidence. And let me tell you, every single one of them would not have wanted to continue after being in court all day. They just wouldn't have. Think about it. You're in court for a stupid long time. I'm gonna wager that those chairs maybe aren't comfortable. I don't know. I haven't seen the courthouse. I have no idea. But it gets my hackles up on a whole different level because well, jury duty is basically, hey, can you put your entire life on hold for God knows how long? We'll pay you like a sandwich. And yeah, we don't know if you'll even be called, but you're gonna have to like give up at least a couple days and stuff like to okay, and people show up and people do like I grew up amongst a whole bunch of people that basically were like, here's how to get out of jury duty, which is mostly if you're an honest person. It really depends on if you know the people or not. But I'm so mad. I'm buffering a lot right now, which is why I'm going to wrap it up soon. Here's the thing. If you get called for jury duty and you see it all the way through, I can only imagine what it would feel like to have an entire documentary be like, well, but they didn't make their own decision. They made the decision the internet made for them. What? And yes, I'm paraphrasing. And yes, other people may not see it this way. And if they don't, I'd love to have a chat with them. Maybe I'll watch it again and I will reevaluate. But that's what I got out of that. I think that's episode 2. I don't know. It was a lot. Let's just say they used a lot of the Elaine interview, a lot of the Amber Heard interview, where they said, well, how could they not be influenced by it? Because they followed the rules. It's not that hard. It's truly not that hard to put your phone down and spend time with your family and your dog, mine is currently snoring in the corner. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Not that hard. Do not unless a juror, which I have not seen any single confirmed juror from this particular trial, basically say, yeah, I got online and that's what made my decision for me. I haven't seen that. I've not seen that. Until I do, let us not assume that an entire jury just kind of also one of my content creators that I follow can maybe correct me and if I'm wrong. I don't think that any of the jurors knew what trial they were going to be jurors on until they were in the room. And can you imagine? You're like, yeah, I'm going to do jury duty. Yeah, that's the thing. And then you get to voir dire and it's like, hey, one of the most famous actors in the entire world and his ex-wife. And yes, that's how I saw it. And yes, I think that's how a lot of the media saw it too. Well, until her PR team got a hold of things. That's a different stream. I'm trying to be kind, and it's hard. It is hard. This documentary. I recognize that documentaries, as a rule, always have a point of view. I absolutely recognize that. This one felt the ickiest that one has felt in a really long time. So yeah. I was going to go through a few other things. Instead, I think what I'm going to do is this. I strongly disagreed with it. I think the editing was terrible. The biggest issue that I have is if you're telling me legacy media is better than content creators on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, then do better. Legacy media, it's that simple. Do better. Just do better. Maybe read some of the documents. It's not that hard. Many of the documents for cases that you put in the news are available, and you can actually read them. Now, whether or not you can interpret them, that's a different question, but I'm pretty sure that you probably have an attorney in your building that can, or a musician, or whatever document you're looking at, because there's usually documents or video or something. If you're going to tell me that social media changed the outcome of this trial, which I don't think it did, ask the folks on social media, the content creators, the creators of the content that you lifted, go to them directly. Ask what changed their mind or made up their mind. Ask them what they were seeing in their live streams, in their chats, the comments on their videos. You seem to make an assumption, legacy media documentary person, that nobody was looking or paying attention, that it was just me. Well, that's not what I saw, not what I watched. And when you're watching an entire trial about gaslighting and manipulation and stuff, and then I'm seeing it on the news, I have issues. I have issues with that. So here's what I'm going to say on this. If anybody happens to see this and has corrections for me, yay, love corrections. I mean, I don't love corrections, but mostly this is me up on a soapbox ranting about the 3 hours of my life I'm never getting back. I was doing other things while it was on, because if I wasn't, I was gonna throw my iPad across the room. Also, if you're gonna have a point with a documentary, don't make it seem neutral. I have a serious issue with that. I have no problems if you're like, we're gonna tell this from Amber Heard's side of the story, or we think the jury got it wrong. Great. Do your thing. I mean, seriously, ask permission from the creators. That's going to be my ultimate sticking point. Ask permission. Ask permission. Ask. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. If you're going to have that kind of point of view, just put it out there. Don't make it seem neutral, because then when I watch it and it's not, hi, I'm making content about how angry I am, about how it's not neutral, and you try to make it seem like this was a giant conspiracy between Johnny Depp and the entire internet, which frankly, I'm gonna leave on this. That is well overestimating Johnny Depp, and also vastly underestimating the internet. Truly, on all accounts. I did not get to sidebars tonight. I have so many notes from this documentary, and there's a lot of sidebars that I want to go over with that. So I apologize for all of my ranting. Mandy will be here with more comedy next time. And she lived through this trial with me. She lived through the daily updates and the text messages and oh my God. So we can have a much deeper conversation about this. At the end of the day, here's the thing. Whether Netflix wants to, and this documentary person wants to believe it or not, this trial opened my eyes to some issues with legacy media. Legacy media has had an opportunity for well over a year to correct and loop back to the legitimacy that I had given them prior. And now I question. So now, if I see, let's say the New York Times says a lawsuit has been filed or whatever, I am going to go see if I can find the documents of the lawsuit and then take it from there and make my own decisions. Because after this Depp Heard trial, after this Netflix documentary, you know what? I don't trust what they have to say. Because some of what was in there from the legacy media, it was like, oh no, we need to be looking at this. We need to be looking at this. No, that's not the conversation. You are in the wrong room. Please go back and try again. And until they fix it, which they haven't yet, I am going to hang out over here on the YouTubes and some of the other social media sites, because you know what? There's plenty of places over here that have the documents. And it's a much bigger deal for a content creator on this platform than it is for a mega institution. I did that, I think, on purpose. That doesn't really matter. So anyway, we need something silly. We need something silly. I need something silly to end the night. Let me see if I have anything silly at all on here for sidebars. I don't think I do. Okay. I don't think I do. I wish I had the silly. I don't have the silly. No, I am going to leave you with, no, that won't work either. Hi, I'm buffering again. Sorry. Buffering. You know what? We're just going to call it. Mandy will be back tomorrow. I do want to, no, I found it. I got there. Buffering, and I got there. I want to give a huge shout out in this video to Emily D. Baker, to Uncle of the Bailey, to Law and Lumber. Thank you for creating the content you create. And I want to thank all of you guys, because I am in your chats, not as often as I would like to be sometimes, but I am there. Again, I'm a huge law nerd. I'm in a lot of Emily D. Baker's chats and chatting over there. And I want to thank you guys as content creators. And Peter Tragos is one of the other ones that I'm in the chat. Not as much as I'd like, but I'm there. You guys do so much good content, and there's only so many hours in a day. Starting over, I want to thank all of you so very much for the content you create, the conversations that you have, the communities that you build. I also want to thank you because I, pardon me, would not be here doing what I am doing now if I had not been inspired by all of you, the whole group of you, and then some, and so many others. Once I discovered what a genuinely wonderful place YouTube can be, it can also be a dumpster fire. I am aware, but the communities you guys have all created are wonderful and supportive. And I want to thank you all in this video for inspiring me and dragged along as well, Mandy, to do what we are doing now and to feel like our voice could be heard and that we could do this and we could just hop in and start. I want to thank all of you because not a single one of you has said, oh, don't start that net or don't do that yet. Everybody has said the same thing when asked, which is hop in and do it. Hop in and just start. Just start your channel. Go for it. More content. So I want to thank all of you so much. Should you ever see this video, know that it's only because you are an inspiration. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight. We will see you next week. And Mandy will be here to bring the funny when I get up on my soapbox because it's happening again. So thank you all. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Unfiltered Tea. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you have a story you want our unfiltered take on, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we will see you next